is all new. We shall put all our bits and bobs inside. Right, I wasn't planning on coming down today, but the weather is supposed to be 17 degrees today in November. So I thought that's good fibreglassing weather. So I thought we'd pop down, try and find Lulu and do a little bit of fibreglassing. Wow, there's the Mersey. And we should be, there she is, she's there. Oh, full of water. It has been a crazy week of rain again. Oh, let's put these heavy bags down. So what we first need to do is get her propped up at the back. So I found this block. It should be enough to just keep us from rocking too much. Oh yeah, perfect, I think. That should do. We'll adjust this front jockey wheel now so it's sort of at the right level, and then that should stop her from rolling. That's the cover off anyway. Cover off. Everything ready. Here's the mast, the main mast. So there's a few problems with this. First of all, this bottom here, you can see it's just gone very soft. This silver paint's not really lasted. So this bottom's gonna need some attention. The other thing is, this is where the varnish is worn off or water's got on the varnish. So this is all gonna have to come off. This is kind of mould. The mast should all look kind of like this. So this is where the mast touches the thwart, so that needs to have a little bit of attention, although Gorilla Tape is pretty good at that sort of stuff. And you can see all the way up the mast, it just needs attention really. It's time for it to have a good old sanding down and varnishing. The metalwork and the top of the mast looks okay. The metalwork, it's as long as it's sound, that's the main thing. We are going to take advantage of this 17-degree November day, and we're going to do a bit of fibreglassing. And there are a few things I need to do on the boat. So the first thing we're going to do is block this hole up. You may be able to see under there, that's actually the bottom of the boat. So in theory, we should be able to lift these floorboards. Whoa, we don't want to be doing that. Which are stuck. They're probably, there you go. And you should be able to see my little fingies under there. So hopefully we can get under there to give it a base, and then we'll build that up flat with some little discs. Let's put this back. The next thing we need to do is, there is a hole up there which we need to do. That used to be the old exhaust for the bilge pump when it was here. And then while we're in here, we've got these little, you may just be able to make out, these little cracks. It looks like that's been fiberglass before, to be honest with you. And it's both sides. And we need to get some fiberglass in there to re-stick that together. The next job will be doing a backing plate for the bilge pump. And then the other job is going to be getting this cleat and this cleat off. I don't use these, and someone rigged the boat up with this system. It's a more, I think they wanted a more modern way of rigging the main sheet up, but I don't use these, and they actually don't really work very well, these cleats anyway. So we're going to remove those. That'll leave 2 little holes that need attending to. And the last thing we need to do is a hole in the backing plate for the tiller pilot. So I'm only planning on being down here this morning, so we'll see how far we get today, and you know, and then we'll that'll be a day's work, I think. There we go. And actually they'll come straight out. Actually, a lot of these little screws and bolts could be reused. We can clean these up because they look like almost look like they're brass screws. So there's one. Let's see if this one needs a little bit of help as well. Back. There we go. This will also make this area a lot nicer to sit on, and of course we need to clear this area of the cleat because the tiller pilot probably won't fit until we do that. The other thing is, I don't think this boat's seen much sea action. So the previous owner had her on a lake for a fair few years, and the one before that, nobody knows. Just screw these bolts on. We'll just screw these bolts on so we don't lose them. There we go, that'll do. That's 2 cleats removed. Next job is to remove this cleat. Now, oh my word. Right, we got that one. Oh, good grief. I do have this weird habit of over tightening, and I seem to have this sort of super strength when it comes to grip. I'm like a monkey. But I think it just comes from years of doing DIY and building stuff, and you just sort of learn to grip things properly. Probably rugby had a lot to do with it as well. So let's remove this. And there's the backing plate on the back there, so we'll just put this all together. So we don't lose any of the bits, and that can go off the boat too. Aha! There you are. Didn't want to lose that. Next job, get the bilge pump out, and really it's just a case of getting these 4 screws out. That one doesn't seem to be biting at all for some reason, so I'll have to have a little look at that. This one won't come out. There we go, that's right. Let's make sure we do not lose these screws, although something tells me we're going to need some bigger ones of these, or longer ones, so let's have a little look for those. There we go. Oh yeah, you can actually see the metal thread has kind of gone. Let's take this out, see if we can find it. There it is. It's in here. It's wedged in here. Haha, there we go. Right, let's see if we can get that out. There we go. So we found it, little grommet. Don't want to lose that if we can help it. I'm just going to give it a little general clean inside here before we get going. Now there is a little bit of paint, as you can see, but I'm using epoxy based resin which should stick to anything, So I'm hoping just cleaning it up will get a nice sound solid fit here and it'll all be good. Right, so I've got my little resin workstation set up in the front of the boat here. So we're just going to mix up some resin. We're going to use this one, the Blue G. It says you need 3 drops of this for 10 mil of this, but I've tended to use 3 or 4 drops per 10 grams of this. I think this is heavier than water because I don't do mil, I do weight. And then we'll get that mixed up and then we'll put a little bit of this in, and then what we'll have to do is mix up some more without this in it, but we're going to cut out some sheets of the fibreglass here to do the repair over the top. So let's get on and do that. Let's have a look. I'm hoping 20 millilitres of that will be fine. Let me go and get a cloth. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drops. I think should do us. And let's get mixing. We need a little bit of this powder. Now I've got to be careful with this stuff because you can breathe it in, but because I'm outside, I'm hoping we're going to be okay. We don't need too much. Just enough to give it a little bit of thickness. There we go. Now, hopefully you can see this. So I've got about 15 minutes pot life in this, and all I'm going to try and do is shove this down into this little crack. I can see that's filling up the crack now, both sides. You can see when it moves, look. There's the crack and it's filled now. You can see the green on the other side as well. So that's the first job done. So while we're waiting for that to set, we'll get on with another job. So I've got the floorboard up on the port side and you can see my finger will come up here. So I think I can get a little piece of fiberglass on the underside. You may also be able to see there's a little bit of loose fiberglass here. So we'll get that tidied up at the same time. So this is going to be a very tricky job, but yeah, I think if we can get this under fiberglass, then this will make this really easy to get nice and flush. Right, got a little patch there, and that's going to come under here and up there. So the trick will be now is getting some of this fiberglass, this epoxy underneath without spilling too much. Just to wet the surface under here. There we go. So let's try and stick that on. Hopefully it'll come nice and good. There we go. Now just the job is, oh bugger, that's not stuck. Hang on. And then now the trick will be to just dab that. Make sure it sticks. So first thing we need to do is just wet this surface. I mean, it is fiberglass, so it shouldn't need too much wetting of epoxy. You don't want to. There we go. Then the patch can go on like this. And then we'll just dab slowly, surely dab this on. Try and get it wet. That's it, perfect. So it'd be good to see how good my fibreglassing skills are. Right, let's see how that goes. For those of you that may have noticed, I'm not using gloves. I forgot my gloves and I'm getting epoxy on my hands, which is not really good for you, but it's only a little bit, so I'm hoping it'll be okay. And I've got my alcoholic rub, which is kind of keeping my hands quite clean actually. So yeah, okay. There we go. So I got both of those in. There's the starboard one and there's the port one. Just got to wait for these to dry now. So I'm just gonna leave that to dry just in case I've got something wrong with the mix. So I'm just gonna leave it. It's quite moist, the air today. It is warm, so it should dry fairly good, but I'm just hoping I've got enough of the setting compound, the catalyst in there. So what I'm going to do next is to remove all the bits and bobs off the woodwork so we can get her ready for a good deck soiling. So on the starboard side, all I've really got to get, maybe just get these clips off. I've only got one cleat. I'm not going to take the Rollocks off. I don't know. Yeah, they're just so secure. I don't fancy doing that. But I'm going to take this off. And the other thing is, I'm not going to take the fair leads off. I just don't want to take anything off that I don't have to. And then on the port side, you can see I've got the furling arrangement. So I'm just going to take a little video of this, just so we know what goes where. And we've got a couple of cleats on the back there. So we'll get all of those off. And that'll be a good job done there while we're waiting for this epoxy to set. There's a few things that need to be done with this just to fix it. Let's get all the screws off. I've become somewhat of an expert getting this cover on and off over the months. So you can see here there's a little crack which needs fixing, which we'll do that at home. Yeah, we can get that fixed I think pretty well. And then it needs a good old oiling. I'm just sanding these corners nice and flush, just because these are a bit sharp, you know, I could be reaching under at some stage. And I might catch myself on this. So I'm just giving them a sand to make them nice and curvy, and then I'll probably just chamfer this a little bit before we sort of stick it in. I've just given it a little rough sand on the back just to help it adhere, and then these are nice and smooth now, so should be a really good backing plate, that. So we'll do it on the top. I think because the motion is like this, we need that along along that motion, so I'm hoping that will be about right in the middle there. And then what we'll do, worry about cutting out the holes afterwards. We'll just have to do it the same as what we did before. Whoop. I'm gonna get this ready now. think that should be enough. Right, it's really quite thick and gloopy, this. Loads of filler in it. I think it should be okay. And we're just going to spread that on the whole bottom. And this is basically just going to act like a glue, really. That's all. And hopefully it'll be thick enough so, don't want to drop it, so it'll squeeze out. There we go. Don't want any air gaps in it. Right, let's go and get that stuck in. Right, there it is, stuck. And that you can maybe just see underneath, braced with this wood, which I'm hoping will help to keep it nice and tight. Can't really see, but hopefully that will do the job. Yeah, it's definitely flat. So we'll leave that to set. So just to show you, I've tidied this up. Just a little bit of flex in there, you can see it squeezes out, but I don't think it squeezes it anymore. I think that void is filled behind the plate. So we'll just have to wait and see. So the resin, I've just asked some advice from someone here and they said the resin's not going to set anytime soon today. So it takes about 3 or 4 hours. So what we're going to do is go home. So I've just measured up the mast. I thought I could put my seats down and make it into the bed platform in the camper van. It would fit in and stick out the back. It just sticks out like about 3 meters out the back. So I'm going to be like knocking people over as I go around corners. So I don't think that's wise. It's probably a bit dangerous. So I'm going to have to leave the mast here. I can either get it on the roof of my car, because I've got a roof rack for that, or I just have to wait and just do it down here. It's not going to take much sanding, I don't think, and just have to take my time. We'll see how the weather goes, you know. Right now, you've probably noticed the wind is picking up quite a lot, actually. You can hear here. So we're going to get the cover on. I think we've done quite enough for one day, and we're going to get ourselves off home. Right. That's enough for one day. I was only supposed to be down here in the morning. It's about 1 o'clock-ish. I've not had my dinner. And I spent about an hour chatting to the guys over there behind me. So, as you do in these places. So we're going to call it a day. And yeah, good one. I'll see you in the next one.